My name is Alice Herbst.
And I'm Herbst Högman.
And we are the joint artist duo, Herbst and Högman. So for this exhibition, we landed on the title In the Hollow.
In the Hollow comes from the sound when you knock on the hollow part of a theater stage, and how the sound is different from if it was solid.
Like that emptiness, that void in that sound. And it's just I think it's a beautiful title. We have our characters that we play in life in different scenarios. Everything is sort of to try to navigate in a sort of a scripted world. It's my take on that, but.
So quite early in the process of making our paintings and discussing this project, we were on a trip in Austria to see a opera.
The Bregenz Festspiele, which I had as a bucket list, but it's would you want to explain more about it? Okay, so it's called the Bregenz Festspiele, and it's an opera that they play on the lake. So it's a lot going on, except for the music and the singing. There will be a lot of emphasis on set design and world building, and also pyro show. So it's a lot of installations and things happening.
I think seeing that stage and seeing the opera, I think that influenced us quite a lot without us even knowing it. Because when we, after being there for a couple of days and being at the hotel that we were at, we kind of started noticing people walking around that we saw multiple days in a row. And
you might say hi to them because you sort of build that like stranger relationship, but you don't know a lot about each other, but you see each other at breakfast time, and it's like you're building up your ideas about other people.
So somehow I think we both kind of connected that opera experience with also being at that hillside hotel. Something just clicked for us, and we realized what we wanted to paint. It was kind of putting people that we see every day on kind of a stage.
To put them literally on the stage, or to make a set design or an atmosphere of a landscape behind them that's clearly being added artificially. It's like something with the paintings. You see, initially you might see the trees and you might see a house or something, but then you realize when you look closer that this is actually, in fact, a made-up stage. It's an artificial place. Might be a fabric instead of grass, for example, and it's all just also to anchor it, like merge the real with the also imagination.
We don't want to have a finished story on our painting, and we want to leave some space for the viewer to kind of do their own, kind of put their own character on the stage.
Yeah, in the end, we're visual storytellers, I'd say. It's like so many visual artists are forced to sort of to explain the story, just to give it to you. And it's not about that. It's about also the imagination. I feel like imagination in art is somehow quite lost today. It's so much about just giving it all to the viewers right away. And this is what you should think or feel about this, or almost force a message onto the viewer. And I always wanted to be a visual artist, and also I'm so much better visually. So I say also to compare it to a director, you want to tell a story. So it's a lot what we do is story based, with you deciding what the story should be. So to be comfortable as a viewer, to feel, to trust your own feelings when you look at the work and not just look to the left and ask for the guidance, I think. We play around a bit with creating characters that feel more realistic, and some of them almost melt into a stage or prop design. So they are looking more, or seem to be looking more 2D.
I think it's the thought of a character that is cut out and is not a real character in a theater play, how that character would be able to come to life. And I think that's quite an interesting thought, kind of that character that is deemed just to be in the background, breaking out and becoming a character of its own.
And sometimes how you feel in life, that it's also like when you're, for example, when we fell in love, we just, people around us disappeared somehow. And I feel everybody has had that moment sometime in their life when they're very caught up in their own world and things around them disappear. So it's like that feeling too, in my mind at least, how there's a couple in one of the paintings, there's a couple standing and looking at each other, and there's people around them that's created with in paper. And it's to me that evoke that feeling in me. It's just like paying attention to each other and everything else just disappears. Initially, when we talked about the color scheme for this show, we really wanted to make very colorful paintings, and somehow we ended up with more grounded, earthy tones in general for the paintings. And it's just something that we ended up doing because we couldn't just artificially decide to make colorful paintings, but it didn't fit with the theme of those paintings. It's about, with the title and everything ended up being like an earthy forest. It really ended up being a specific color scheme.
Yeah, I think being a kind of all paintings being like a depiction of a theater stage. Every time I visit a theater stage, there's some kind of earthy tone to it, because you're inside, there's a lot of darkness.
And dust,
wood.
Yeah.
And I think that influenced the color scheme of our paintings quite a lot. Quite early in our relationship, we floated the idea to do a painting together, but we never really got to doing one. I think because our different painting styles are quite different in a way, but also quite similar at the same time.
I was actually afraid. I was afraid that we would become confused about our own, like to separate the both styles, because I'm so focused on my way of creating inspiration, and my process is very personal, and yours is of course that too, but you don't use yourself as a model for your works, for example. I was feeling that I wouldn't know how we could sort of create something together that would feel unconfusing to me, or would make sense to me before. So I needed time to mature into that thought, actually.
It was quite a process in order to arrive at the same kind of visual ideas, in that we had different visual ideas initially, and we kind of had to merge that for our paintings, for us both to be satisfied with the result.
I mean, there's a million different ways that we could develop the visual language together. We could tackle the process of painting in so many different ways. We had to try it for many times before we landed on something that felt very organic and natural for us. So as for now, I feel like the paintings, they have sort of developed to its own visual style, which shares similarities with my work and with your work, but very differently in each painting. And we of course have a compass in ourselves in terms of intuition. The way that you work and the way that I would tackle the same kind of motive when we have a sketch in front of us.
For me, it's very important the way that a paint is applied. When I look at paintings, I always take quite a lot of joy when I can see how they are painted, kind of what velocity the paint has been applied, and what thickness and what fluidity and what rhythm that the brushstroke is put on the canvas. I haven't really changed how I paint in the kind of the act of painting. However, I think the fact that we are both two painters with one canvas, I think that kind of changes the way that I approach the painting. So I paint in the same way, but there are some areas that I almost like we're one person. I feel like I kind of set you up in order to paint above my paint.
What has changed also for me is that I paint up on top of your paint, and that of course creates something new. It's going to be a different structure, and I have to use different brushes and different techniques, and sort of where I put my brushes on the canvas, there might be paint bumps underneath, and it will of course create a different result. So it's like I'm painting with some hurdles that I enjoy.
Yeah, and there's also an aspect of when you're painting on your own, you're not as afraid to do drastic changes. But when Alice has painted on something, there's initially, at least, there was some kind of hesitation for me to paint above it. But as we painted together and we kind of had discussions, we had to come to the conclusion that we have to be ruthless.
And not really care what happens. Like if you really liked the first thing that happened when we tried out this, it was you had a favorite area that you had been painting. Then I didn't know about that. I was just like going on with a brush. So it happened the first time, and then we had that discussion that time. I realized that no remorse. We have to just.
We have the agreement that there is no area of the painting that is off the limits.
If you compare working with each other to being a separate artist, it's also about what we've been talking a bit about, how we are like two puzzle pieces that I have my tools that we can use and you have yours, and it's like if it's a good duo, it will be because of that we complement each other. So I would say that I bring something to the process beforehand, like when we are working with the papers and building the stage. That's something that I brought with me to this duo as well. It's also making us feel more free to be able to not just work from photos, but to actually put up sort of like a miniature stage in front of us before when we start planning for the sketches. From my perspective with your work, I feel like it's your passion with just painting as a technique. I always thought that how you work with your brushes, that almost like you never wash your brushes almost, so they have like a built-on paint, so it's like he paints with stones. But you manage to create shape with those very large paintbrush areas, and you somehow create a shape with that, and you can create very interesting emotions in the people that you paint. And it's also how I read your works as very three-dimensional, even though they're 2D. It's something that I admire, and when we work together, I really love when that shines through the joint works too.
The people in our works are often fictional characters that are based on someone that we see or someone that we discuss or meet. And by the act of placing them on a stage and building kind of with the set design, building a world around them, we kind of build their story. And it's probably not the real story, but it's kind of a playful act, an empathic act of seeing them and kind of seeing the world from their eyes.
And also being understanding, and it's also that we that might project our own experiences onto those characters, and that's something that I look forward to have other people viewing the works, and also of course based on their experiences they will read or sort of look at the stories of those characters differently. We had somebody had a look at one of the characters in one painting and said, oh, this person makes me feel sad, or they look sad, and I didn't see that character that way. So it might say something about their mindset that day.
Yeah, it's very important for us that the story leaves some room for interpretation.